For those of you who somehow never heard of this game before, Undertale is a pixel RPG game developed by Toby Fox and released in 2015. Ever since, it has been one of the most popular games of all time, spawning fan songs, comics, a weird amount of sand simps, and most importantly for this video, a lot of ships between its characters, ranging from harmless ships to what the fuck are you shipping? But in this video, the ship itself isn't the real problem, but rather the people behind the community of the ship who have slandered and unnecessarily gone after one of its own members for actions that for some reason required a Google Doc. So let me introduce you all to r/Cocoapowder. r/Cocoapowder is a subreddit dedicated to shipping the characters Chara and Clover from the Undertale mod Undertale Red Yellow, developed by Shinix. In the mod, Chara the first human and Clover the yellow heart human follow the player character around as ghost companions. This subreddit is a typical shipping community that creates fan art, fanfiction, and other original content surrounding these characters. However, the days of peaceful shipping came to a close as the new year crawled in. On the 6th of January 2026, an announcement was made on the r/Cocoapowder Discord by one of the moderators, Stormfire the OG. It says, "Important announcement. We are sorry to bother at everyone right now, but this has been something we thought about making for a while now. We would like to spread awareness about Karma Spider and the drama that has happened surrounding him, the Cowpow subreddit, and our Discord server. We would also like to make it clear that in no way, shape, or form is this an invitation for anyone here to go after Karma Spider and harass him in any way. This announcement has been made to spread awareness of the problem. Thank you for your time." So who is Karma Spider? He was a former moderator of the Cocoapowder subreddit and its Discord. Is he a content creator? Well, no, he's just a terminally online redditor. I mean, he has 32 subs on YouTube and moderated a community that's a ship from an AU of an AU. He's not relevant in the grand scheme of things, but if that's the case, why did they make a Google document on him? It starts off with, "This document has been made to outline our experiences surrounding Karma Spider. This includes his conduct as a moderator of the Cocoapowder Discord server and Reddit, as well as more recent developments that we found worrisome. This document is in no way meant to start a witch hunt against him, but to inform others about our experiences and what we felt during said experiences. Trigger warning. This document mentions heavily suggestive media and mentions of NSFW acts between Clover and Chara, characters that are canonically minors. If this type of content makes you uncomfortable, it is highly recommended that you do not read the document." With a preface like this, it sounds very concerning. It sounds like this guy was making porn of minor characters. Now, in my opinion, if he was making suggestive media and NSFW works using the characters depicted as minors, I would fully condemn him. If it's the case that he is using aged-up versions of the characters, then I would not care. So let's see if this falls under the former. Stormfire the OG writes, "A while back, before the Cocoapowder subreddit was well known, there was an incident regarding a post that was made in the subreddit. Clover and Chara as Andy and Lele from the game The Coffin of Andy and Lele. Given the nature of the game and the kind of stuff that is present in the game like incest, it had broken the rules of the subreddit. However, it was never removed until Jewel themselves posted about this on Twitter, talking about said post in the Cocoapowder subreddit and people crossing the limits, and only then was the post removed. When that happened, I decided to ask if it was okay if I joined the moderation team as a way to help moderate the place. Since there was a small amount of mods there, I expected them to ask me if I had any previous experience being a mod, or just give me some kind of questionnaire to see if I was fit to become a moderator. But right after sending my request, I became a part of the team without any questions asked. This was a little surprising and uncanny to me, given the fact that I had practically all permissions and could delete everything if I wanted to, and the same was true for anyone who has joined the team in a similar fashion. I'm gonna jump in and clarify that the Coffin of Andy and Lele edit was not done by Karma Spider. I don't understand why Stormfire had to include this because Nobody cares about how you became a moderator. What people will read the Google Doc for is to know who Karma is and what he did. Many of your server and Reddit members don't even know who he is. You should have explained that he was a former moderator. The inclusion of this edit makes it seem like he made it when he didn't. Nobody wants your story about how you became a mod. Stick to the topic. Once I became a moderator, I was doing most of the moderation alongside Gloomy, co-owner of the Discord server. We had pretty much just started our moderation duties in the subreddit. It should be noted that I was around 16 to 17 years old, while Gloomy was 15 to 16 years old, when both of us found some very concerning posts from Karma Spider. The first post that we found was a drawing of Clover and Chara, where he misgendered both characters, but much more importantly, the drawing portrays Chara and Clover in a suggestive situation where Clover is seen calling Chara a bad boy. Clover says to Chara, "I heard that you've been a bad boy, Chara, and you know what happens to boys who are naughty." Who cares? Chara and Clover are both characters whose genders are left ambiguous. I've seen many interpretations of Chara in particular as a girl and as a boy. In this specific post, it's clearly an interpretation where they are those genders. Though that's a small nitpick, the main contention the moderators have is that it is depicting a suggestive situation. This is the tamest image I have ever seen. First of all, it looks like a child drew it. I thought Karma was a minor at first because of it. The proportions make the character look older. Those don't look like children to me. Your trigger warning from earlier made me think I would stumble upon drawn CP or something. This post is harmless, it's just cringy. When me and Gloomy first saw this post, we were unsure about whether we should remove it or not. We were both pretty inexperienced at moderation, so we weren't the best at it back then. Hence, due to not being sure if this was breaking rules or not, we left the post alone. Time went on and me and Gloomy decided to make a Discord server for the subreddit, where we made Karma Spider a moderator by default, since he was the person who thought of making the Cocoapowder subreddit. But that proved to be a rather big mistake from our part, as we found out in the future. Eventually, once we started adding more moderators and started adding and implementing better and more concrete rules, we noticed that Karma Spider posted again in the subreddit. This time, it was surrounding a meme where Chara was drawn with exaggerated and mature body proportion, which we believed wasn't appropriate for the younger audience to see, since the majority of the members of not only this community, but also the Undertale/Undertale Yellow community are minors. The post reads, Clover Shift. Clover says, Shift Charas are bullshit. Chara, in her Storyfell form, says, Greetings, cowboy. Clover says, Shift Charas are key. The comments under this post say, Don't tell me Clover focused on what I think he focused. Blue says, Focused on her personality. Red says, I'm crying. Her? Blue says, Ah shit, I did the gender. Yellow says, Damn, I can't believe Chara forced them to misgender Chara. Karma Spider says, He's appreciating all of her beauty. He continued to have this issue of posting such problematic content, even though he himself knew that matters were in the subreddit. He has even directly admitted to a post of it, implying adult acts by being suggestive. After most of the moderators literally pleaded with him to remove these posts, he finally did so. Some time passed and we started feeling more uncomfortable with the fact that the supposed owner of the subreddit was this unwilling to remove just one or two posts that were inappropriate for buyers to see. Eventually, we ended up removing him from the Discord server, as well as removing him from the Cocoapowder subreddit server. I find it interesting that they used this post because the Chara depicted here is Storyfell Chara, a character who is canonically 20 years old. It is 100% suggestive, but it is not enough to pearl clutch over. I don't believe any minors would be harmed by seeing these two posts. It's a horny joke over the AU adult character having big tits. People have seen worse. If it's such a big problem, I would suggest spoilering the image. After the confrontation with the moderators, Karma Spider took them down. He literally complied with their demands, and yet they removed him. Once we did that though, he swiftly painted us as the bad people in the situation, and that we were overreacting. He eventually made his own Cocoapowder subreddit, a space which is not safe for minors in any way whatsoever, where he would send whatever he wanted, whether it was problematic or otherwise. We decided to ignore it as much as we could since we didn't want to be associated with him anymore. We continued making sure our subreddit and Discord server was safe by implementing and enforcing the rules that we had created. However, as more people joined this subreddit, we started to get worried since there weren't any warnings or age restriction on content in his subreddit. So any minor could just happen to check his subreddit and see the stuff that was being posted by him. Most of Karma Spider's jokes had completely crossed the line of what would be considered appropriate to the younger audience. Let me get this straight, Karma Spider made his own space where he can post the content that he likes, where it is allowed. Why are you trying to police that? You have the main subreddit already, where you can curate the content that anyone can see. If you look at r/Cocoapowder Plus, his new subreddit, you will see that the posts are almost the same as the main subreddit. We see in the description that this space is more lenient about the content, but clarifies that it is not an NSFW space. You can see on screen that I've been scrolling through that subreddit, and I have barely found anything suggestive or NSFW. Even if you add warnings or age restriction in the subreddit, minors can still access it because, surprise surprise, minors can lie about their age. He already segregated his type of content out of the main space, and he's not in the main community anymore. What more do you want from him? They then proceed to show the conversation they had with Karma Spider about his posts. Cookie says, which is in the rules, am I wrong? Stormfire the OG says, yeah, it's in the rules not to have stuff like that. I don't know why you would put implications of it either. It's not that hard to see that it's bad. Karma replies with, it would not have had the same impact. Stormfire replies to him saying, why do you want the impact to be that? What do you mean it wouldn't have had the same impact? It's the same if you put a different shift Chara. Why is it so hard for you to just change it? If I'm asked something might be suggestive in my art, I would change it. I don't know why this is so hard to do. The whole entire point of the post is that Clover changes his mind about shift Charas, which from what I looked up means role reversal AU Charas, because he sees an attractive adult version of Chara with big tits. It's part of the joke, appealing to horny humor. Are you slow, Stormfire? Stormfire says, for that one, at least for me, fine, I can get over that one honestly, but I still do not understand about the whole Chara one and especially the drawing one on paper. Karma Spider replies with, Clover and Chara are fictional characters. They are not real, so the morals we apply to real people don't apply to them. I would never reimagine a real child in the ways I have depicted Clover and Chara. Very sparingly, might I add. So as long as you stay true to the characters and don't, I understand why there should be any problem with depicting them with more developed features. Cookie replies with, it surely depends on the style, like about body shapes and stuff, I only agree with that. Stormfire replies with, I hate when people say this, fiction still affects real life. Oh brother, they really are that slow. I agree with Carbon Spider that these characters are fictional. He is not hurting anyone by making this type of content. You can change fictional characters however you like because they are concepts. They are not based on real people, they are a bunch of pixels. Besides, you can't even apply the lolicon type arguments where it's depicting features of a child because Clover and Chara are explicitly aged up. I would have had a very different take if he was depicting the child versions of these characters in a sexual manner. Karma says, yes, Clover is a simp, that's the punchline. Stormfire says, not to mention everyone agrees it's best not to do this, to which Karma replies with, except for the 300 people who have voted and enjoyed it. Stormfire replies to those saying, again, you could have just used a different one then, and people who said they were horny in the comments and made not very good jokes there. Yeah, what good audience you brought. Had to delete one because someone just went horny over it. Notice how Stormfire doesn't show any evidence about how a lot of people agree with them. We can see in the cut-off screenshot of the Reddit post that what Karma Spider is saying is true. There were at least 279 upvotes when it was taken. They resort to an excuse to paint the audience as bad when... Dude, that's your community. If the majority thought it wasn't a good idea to post it, it would be downvoted to oblivion and the comments criticizing it would have more upvotes than the original post. Clearly, that was not the case. Blue says, also, you said to that you want more adult cowpow, but we have that and none of it is suggestive at all. We have Red, who has an AU Deltarune cowpow and none of their posts were suggestive. We had green, and I think someone else draw them getting married. I might even say green Cowpow is mostly old teen/adult, and if their drawings are cute, not are suggestive on the slightest. Also, they refer to this message by Karma Spider, which reads, I love silly little goobers Cocoapowder as much as the next guy, but I want something else as well. I want to see them as adults and doing adult things like flirting and teasing each other. Nothing genuinely 18 plus activities, obviously, but if someone can't handle a vague implication of what could possibly maybe be sex in the shipping community, then honestly, that's their problem, not mine. I'm done for now. Blue continues with, You admitted it. You admitted it could imply sex there by being suggestive, which, again, against server rules. They are fictional characters. Part of being an adult couple is having sexual relations, that's the reality of it. If your main contention is that you don't want NSFW or suggestive content, then remove the posts and the people who post it. This pearl clutching over a ship between fictional characters is so annoying to me. I don't get how you can moral frog so much when the argument can be made that it's weird to have a whole community dedicated to shipping minors. Do you get excited watching little kids kiss, bro? Using your own logic against you, even if it is an SFW community, why can't you ship adult characters? Another mod named Umbra gave their testimony by saying, So throughout my time of being a mod of the Cocoapowder server and working along Karma when they were a mod, they weren't the best. They would break rules that were both on the server and the subreddit, posting suggestive content and political content. When they were removed and kicked from the server and wanted to talk about the reasons I volunteered since I was neutral towards them at the time, however, when I provided them with evidence and the reasons, they defended themselves in the worst way possible in a way that made them seem more guilty and lying about their post. One of the most obvious ones they were lying about was their political post, which was about the Trump assassination attempt. It was a clear reference to it, and they even confirmed it in the comments, which I provided as proof. Another one of their posts was a suggestive one that had clear language that hinted at something suggestive, but they defended themselves by saying that we were the ones who making it suggestive, and that Clover was just threatening Chara with paying for the next date and or white chocolate, which is not at all what the post suggested, since it had Clover holding Chara in a way that what Clover said could only be suggesting something bad. There was also another post of theirs where they said in the comments that the joke is that Chara has boobs and is really attractive, so it makes Clover not follow their moral compass, which are both minor characters. All in all, my experience with Karma has been bad. They had made suggestive content in the subreddit for said content to be allowed, and were also rude when we tried talking with them. We decided to explore Karma Spider's posts for the sake of checking exactly what kind of stuff he has been posting on his own subreddit, and we discovered that Karma has continued to post inappropriate stuff on not only his subreddit, but also on other social media platforms. Given below are some of the posts we were able to find. Umbra provides no evidence for the Trump assassination post or the suggestive one, unless they're referring to this drawing, which isn't really clear here. However, they do provide screenshots on Karma Spider's other content. Karma Spider posted a comic between Storyfell Clover and Chara having a very suggestive conversation. While Karma Spider states that both of these characters are adults here, it should be noted that aging up minor characters to create suggestive/NSFW content is never okay. Phrases like certain urges, that gun of yours, when I pin you during our scuffles are simply not okay. The comic is called Clover Hates to Love Chara. I said shut up. Oh ho ho, Clover, there is nothing to be ashamed of. You're only human after all. It's not your fault that you feel certain urges around me. The only human girl you've seen in years, and the most beautiful one you've ever seen. And if I do, what do you plan to do about it? I have a few ideas, and I think you'll like them. To leave the safety of your desert just to see me. There's also that gun of yours, which appears when I talk dirty and... Shut up! Oh, and how could I forget? You have that adorable habit where you become as red as my sweater. I don't even have to do anything to make it happen. Sometimes I just sit there and look pretty, while you don't even try to take your eyes off my... And you use that power to torment other humans like me. What makes you think that I would ever love you? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with those glances you send my way when you think I'm not looking. Maybe it's the way your heart beats when I pin you during our little scuffles. Perhaps I assumed there was something beyond spite that pushed you. How long are you going to deny it? That depends, traitor. How long do you plan to swim in your sea of delusions? Depends on when I find it, because right now, you're the only one swimming. You are a disgusting excuse for a human who somehow found herself in the good graces of some of the most powerful monsters in this hellhole. I hate that I have had to read this out. It's just character dialogue that explores an enemies to lovers dynamic. Those terms are used to show how Chara knows that Clover is attracted to her. Who cares? Karma Spider's post, given below on his subreddit, heavily implies that Chara and Clover participated in adult activities. The post reads, "Enemies but lovers." Clover says, "You are insufferable." Chara says, "I could say the same for you." And then later they end up in the same bed together. It's just a regular ship meme, who cares? Karma Spider has also reposted art depicting Chara with mature and exaggerated body proportions. The post says, "The demon had potential. Don't be intimidated, Clover. Imagine if she was still a human. Oh no, she's hot!" So you're mad over a depiction of Chara with a normal body? What part of exaggeration is there? This is a body type that many women in real life have. You are clutching at straws here. Karma Spider's problematic posts aren't restricted to his subreddit, as he has also posted suggestive Cocoapowder memes on his Tumblr. Chara says, "I could take him." In a fight, right? Chloe asks. In a fight, right? This is tame as fuck and a use of a popular meme. This is nothing, I don't give a shit. When someone had mentioned that Clover and Chara both were kids/teens, Karma Spider's response was simply that teens express their love in many ways. He not only acknowledged that the meme implied sexual activity between both characters, but also showed that he was more than okay with consuming and sharing that kind of content. Blue says, "They are kids/teens, bro." Karma Spider says, "Teens date and express their love in many ways." Now this reply is something that can be rightfully criticized. Karma Spider was not cooking with his response. It's technically the truth. It's a fact that teenagers do have sex. However, the way he said this was a bit creepy. When you say this, people will question you because who says something like this in response to suggestive content? The correct response would be that it's just a meme or that the characters are aged up. Just think before you post, man. Recently, we were informed about some concerning activity on AO3, Archive of Our Own, from Karma Spider, where he left kudos on a commissioned Cocoapowder pornfic. Red says, "Yeah, soz. Here actually I'm not sending it in Mod Helper channel, so I look at all of the fics posted to AO3 in the Cocoapow tag. Very recently, an adult author posted a commissioned Cocoapowder pornfic. I was looking through the comments with a friend when I noticed that Karma has left kudos on the fic. Considering that he has cultivated a fanbase of minors, is it possible for someone to reach out to Karma about this? I'm concerned with the safety of people in the younger age bracket in this community if he is publicly, because you can anonymously kudos a work, publicly liking NSFW material. Whoever this person is, you are a sensitive dumbass. You do understand that AO3 literally has filters that lets you exclude NSFW material. I know that this person is a minor, and I have to ask, why are you reading a pornfic in the first place? You know that content is not for you, yet you still engage with it. Your reasoning for bringing this up to the mods is also very stupid. When you give kudos to a fanfic on AO3, you will see that kudos only on that specific work. Even if you follow someone on that website, there is no central kudos list that you will be able to view. Each AO3 user's kudos list is private and there is no option to make them public. If you wanted to see if a specific person gave kudos, you would have to manually search for it in fanfics. Thus, his supposed fanbase of minors wouldn't see NSFW material unless they were actively looking for it. Since a substantial number of minors follow his Reddit account at AO3, they could also see that Karma was looking at and liking Cocoapowder porn on AO3. This is something that worried us a lot, especially considering that Karma was inadvertently exposing this kind of content to his audience. As evidence for the above, we have attached a couple images of the fanfic that Karma Spider had left kudos on. The URL on both images completely match, partially hidden in the images so minors don't check the fanfic, so in the case that Karma Spider removes their kudos from the work and tries to feign innocence, These images will act as concrete evidence. Trigger warning, the images below do contain mentions of 18 plus acts. If you aren't comfortable with such stuff, please skip the images. An important thing to note here is that the fic has characters that are aged up. I point this out because AO3 has a tag for underage sex. I am not going to read out the screenshot because I don't want to be demonetized. Anyway, for the last time, no one will see that Karma Spider is like a Cocoapowder porn unless they are actively looking for Cocoapowder porn on AO3. Have your parents ever taught you guys to mind your own business? He's not posting the fanfic on the subreddits or any of his public platforms. He kept it to himself and he kept it private. Acting like he's endangering minors by giving kudos to a porn fic is so bizarre. You had all this time to make a 17-page Google Doc, yet you couldn't verify if you could see his kudos list? Really? We admittedly became worried, so we decided to reach out to him and ask him to private his AO3, but were ghosted. After looking back at this, it was not the best way to handle the situation, and even if he had not ghosted the message by looking at his previous history that has been detailed in this doc, it's not likely that he would have cared about this. Lawful Louie messages Karma Spider with, "This is Louie from Cocoapowder. We were hoping that you could private your feed on AO3, given that you have cultivated a large following within your new community. Although you have little incentive to listen to us, both of our communities still contain a large audience of minors who should at least be spared from seeing that. We'll take your word, as your rules would suggest, that this is something you still take seriously." Fun fact! All AO3 accounts are public. There is no option to private your feed because it's already private. What appears on the profile are works that the user has made and their public bookmarks. You can make bookmarks private. Looking at Karma's profile, there is no public NSFW works listed. He was right to ignore Louie's message. Why do you feel like you have the right to dictate what content people consume? It makes you look like an asshole using the excuse of protecting the kids in order to bend people to your will. You're not protecting anyone, you just come across as a whiny baby. We feel like it's also worth mentioning that aside from posting suggestive content related to Cocoapowder, he is also part of an 18+ subreddit dedicated to a character from the show Ruby that is canonically a minor, even in the latter seasons. It's also important to know that Karma is an adult who should be responsible for the fact that his AO3 and Reddit are mostly seen by minors. He should be careful with stuff like this, but he has shown very clearly on many occasions that he doesn't care for minors' safety when it comes to him posting, sharing, consuming, and encouraging this kind of inappropriate stuff. I find it so funny that they use the fact that he's active in the Ruby Rose subreddit as evidence that he likes fantasizing about minors when that is a general fan subreddit. You can check on the homepage of that subreddit that it did not start out as an 18+ community. It was mass flagged a few months ago, which caused Reddit to label it as NSFW. Don't believe me? Here's an archive of the Ruby Rose subreddit from last year. I'll link the Wayback Machine search in the description and comments. You can see that while NSFW content was allowed, most of the posts were SFW content. You had all the time to make this Google document and look through his active subreddits, yet you couldn't check if it was truly a porn subreddit? Give me a break, you people are so incompetent. Can I also just say that this Google document is poorly formatted? There's no clear outline on what the wrongdoing is. You don't need to separate it into testimonies. If you're going to make a Google Doc on someone, have the sections be one claim and within it are the details. It looks more like a shitty hit piece rather than a serious document. Now, the Ruby Rose section is the last part of the document. No, they didn't even have a conclusion, it ends abruptly. So what was the r/Cocoapowder's community's reaction to this document? Well, on the announcement post of r/Cocoapowder, there were 2 Redditors who approved of it. For the r/Cocoapowder, it has an extra R, there was also positive reception to it. There was a guy who pushed back against the document, however, he got downvoted. The platform with the most reaction, though, is the Discord server. Why? Because it has hundreds of members and Stormfire added everyone that actively alerted people rather than simply posting it on a small Reddit community. Unlike Reddit, they received more negative reception to the Google document. It was a very long conversation. I was able to take 50+ screenshots. Due to the length, I will only highlight particular responses rather than read the entire thing. If people want to read everything, I will attach a Google Drive with everything in the description and comments. For those server members who are critical, They made similar points to what I have said and asked, why do you need to make a Google Doc on Karma Spider? Here are some examples. Yellow says, I'm just gonna put in my 2 cents here. Karma's bad for the server, Karma's bad for the subreddit, Karma's doing random shit that nobody here really cares about. There's not much point bringing him up when he isn't a part of any main channel anymore. Stars at Sabers says, I don't have full context on this guy, sure, but I'm sure there are at least half a dozen/dozen Cowpow members who are also bad for other reasons, etc. And I'm sure the same argument of awareness would apply to them. Charles Leclerc says, all I'm getting are just half-assed suggestive Cowpow posts from this Karma guy. Limo says, hey guys, I have not been very long here, and I appreciate the people who like my art and writing, but I cannot stand by and not say anything about the everyone. There are certain stuff that I cannot defend/agree with, such as the misgendering and posting of suggestive stuff in a place in which the rules said clearly it wasn't allowed. However, you guys just everyone about a person most of us weren't aware of and painted them in a huge negative light in the stuff they do in their own account. Honestly, I don't give a fuck if they write, read, liked, draw NSFW of aged up minors, even minors like, you guys know teens have sex, right? Jesus Christ, you guys are full acting pro-censorship and fandom police now. You guys stalked this person's kudos and added it to a Google Doc to hundreds of people to see. You guys policed what they posted in their own account. This person will never be able to do stuff in peace in their own damn account because you are acting like lots of people watch their account. Where did you guys get this argument from? I'm deeply uncomfortable about this whole thing, and I'm not comfortable knowing 2 15-year-olds wrote this, mod the server, and decided to add everyone to witch hunt someone. Because this is what it is. This person is not on this server to defend themselves. This person has not harmed anyone, and this could have been better handled in private or not at all. Because I got a feeling this was just to let everyone know of a gossip in this Discord server. Sorry for my English, I'm Hispanic and slightly angry about this whole thing. Stars at Saber says, so I think the real question to ask is why this post is being made. It's not just to bring up someone's past. Absolute Creature says, to cancel him. Stars at Savers replies with, and why? The mods and a few other members responded to their critiques in the general chat by stating that it was to spread awareness. He has spiders in his community and that they weren't canceling him. Junie Bunny replies to Stars at Sabers' critique of how there are half a dozen/a dozen Cowpow members who are also bad with, we don't know about them though, that's why bruh. Stormfire the OG responds to Absolute Creature's question, and why do you need this, with, legit to spread awareness because spiders are in danger with him. Louis says, his community has grown considerably over the past few months. New people do not know our perspective on those events and join both communities. Therefore, we felt we should clarify our experiences once we learned of a new concerning development. That is all, do what you will, people. Chris Sunset Soul says, if you're not going to take it seriously, then don't say anything. Arguing about this isn't going to be productive, and the fact of the matter is that this person is still an active member in the community is an issue, and I'm not sure very many of you are fully grasping this. Jewel responds to Charles Leclerc's criticism of all I'm getting are just half-assed suggestive Cowpow posts from this Karma guy with, which is a weird thing to do as an adult, because he is sexualizing characters that are depicted as children in a community full of children. Starfire responds to Yellow's comment about cancellation with, we're not canceling the dude, can you stop and actually read for a sec? This is followed by, where did you get canceling from, man? C-Dubs says, why would the mods need to cancel a guy who already barely has a platform, what the fuck? Google Docky says, it is awareness. Dag says, guys, remember the announcement is to spread awareness, not canceling, just to spread awareness. After the release of the Google document in the Cocoapowder Discord, I joined Karma Spider's Discord server and asked him in DMs about his history with r/Cocoapowder. Karma says, so what do you want to know? I reply with, backstory of the subreddit, since I don't know shit about Cocoapowder at all. I was only sent the Google Doc by a friend, along with if you're planning a response. Karma replies with, any response I make will just be used against me. Basically, back in 2024, I started posting memes and a dialogue for Cocoapowder, and the ship started gaining traction. The original subreddit was made by one of the current mods, and they invited me to also be a mod. I say, this is a crap mindset to have when the allegations they made make you look like you like kids. And I asked, which mod? Karma gives a brief breakdown on what happened. At the end of last summer, without any warning, they forced me on trial for 3 posts. 2 were about the chest size of the characters, and the other was about politics. All of it was very tame. I was open to talking it out on one, but they forced me into a group chat and basically 1v9'd me. Only one of them was willing to compromise, and the only thing I had going for me was the fact that they hadn't given me any warnings. At the end, I was banned from the Discord server and had my pod privileges removed. I wasn't happy, but given how against they were with talking it out and finding a compromise, I just had to accept it. From then on, I did my best to follow their strict standards while they kept an eye on me. The funniest part was that I genuinely thought that things were improving. I minded my own business, posted some pretty tame memes, and nothing bad seemed to be happening. Becoming a mod again was even starting to seem like a possibility, especially since they made a second sub just to get away from me. Then 1 to 2 months later, without any warning, they banned me from the subreddit. Given how I wasn't the only one with issues with how they ran things, I decided to make Cocoapowder Plus. I made it as an alternative subreddit that would allow more creative freedom. Most notably, you're allowed to age up Clover and Chara and reference more adult activities. Of course, there is a limit. PG-15 is the max, and no actual sex or anything, just hints and stuff, and if someone didn't like it, the rules say that they were allowed to leave. So yeah, I kept to my sub, enjoying the new potential for memes and dialogues that I had given myself. I kept to myself and they minded their own business. Everything was fine. Then they released that document, and now I'm here. He responds to my question of which mod with green and blue. In response to my comment about it being a crap mindset to not respond, he says, they hold the power, they have the larger following, they control the narrative. The best that I could do is keep to myself and grow my own community, telling anybody who asks my side. I say, if you don't give a response, the narrative will be that you are guilty. If you have a public response out, people will be able to have a fair assessment of the situation. Both sides of the story. Karma says, look, I'll sleep on it and we'll see. I ask, do you have a history with Stormfire in particular? Any idea why they chose to single you out? Karma replies with, nothing outside Cocoapowder. All I know is that they're not as casual about mature concepts for ships, like sex even aged up and merely implied as I am. Then he sent me his response a couple of hours later, so let's read it. Addressing the document. I really didn't want to do this. I thought that the hatchet was buried, but here we are. For those who don't know, on the original Cocoapowder sub and on the official Discord, a document was shared slandering my name. This document exaggerates offenses and their severity, while also ignoring a lot of context. I wanted to keep all of this quiet and between me and the mods. However, this situation kept spiraling and I was kicked from the other Shot Sunset dev team because of it. As a result, I have no choice but to at least try to defend myself. I am sharing my side of the story. I do not wish to stir the pot or fuel the drama. I am simply doing what anyone would do and giving you all the information you need to come to your own conclusions. This whole mess started at the end of last summer. Back then, I was still a mod of the original subreddit, simply adding fun memes to the community. One day, without any warning, the other mods forced me on trial for 3 posts. 2 were because of the chest size of the characters, and the other was about politics. All of it was very tame. None of these posts had been officially flagged before this, and I did not believe them to break any of the rules. I tried to keep things under control. I wanted to explain myself and find the middle ground. I cooperated and I was open to talking it out one-on-one, but they forced me into a group chat and I had to defend myself against 9 people. The whole environment felt very aggressive and I was trying to keep calm. They wanted to ban me from the subreddit and the Discord immediately, even while I was in the middle of arguing my case. As far as I can recall, only one was actively trying to help me find a compromise with the others, and I am forever grateful for that. I have since lost access to that group chat. By the end of it, I was banned from the Discord server and had my mod privileges removed. I had also removed the posts that had gotten me into trouble, as they requested. I also changed the Storyfell meme using Storyfell Chara art suggested by one of the mods. I wasn't happy with the situation, but I could live with it. Following this event, I hoped that things would improve, and for a time that seemed to be the case. I did my best to follow their strict standards while they kept an eye on me. I hadn't had any more warnings since the trial, and everything seemed okay. I minded my own business, posted some pretty tame memes, and nothing bad seemed to be happening. One of the mods was even discussing giving me back the role to the original sub. Then 1 to 2 months later, without any warning, they banned me from the subreddit. They didn't say what I had done to make them go back on the compromise we had made. The only explanation I got was that they didn't like my attitude and my old posts. This highlights the immaturity of mods like Stormfire the OG. Karma agreed to take down his posts and even change one of them. He did what you said and then you ban him out of the blue, all because you didn't like his attitude. Remember, the explanation for this ban we got from Stormfire is that some time passed and we started feeling more uncomfortable with the fact that the supposed owner of the subreddit was this unwilling to remove just 1 or 2 posts that were inappropriate for minors to see. Why are you punishing him when he hasn't violated your agreement? It's petty behavior that is unbecoming of a moderator. It shows how you were not true to your word. I was not pleased, and this proved to me that cooperation with those mods was no longer possible. I realized that I wasn't the only one with issues with how these mods ran things, so I decided to make Cocoapowder Plus. The purpose of this subreddit is to act as an alternative option to the original. Cocoapowder Plus would allow more creative freedom and fewer restrictions for how Clover and Chara could be depicted. Of course, there is a limit. As explained in my rules, explicit sex, nudity, extreme gore, etc. are not allowed. The general rule of thumb is that PG-15 is the max. While more mature content can be hinted at, outright pornography is not tolerated. Please note that none of my posts on Cocoapowder Plus break the rules on Cocoapowder Plus. It is not the role of the mods of the original to police my subreddit. And if someone doesn't like it here, the rules say that they are allowed to leave. This is fair. Karma created a separate space for content not allowed in the original subreddit. He is correct when he says the mods of the original have no right to police his subreddit. Focus on your own subreddit and the community there. These people love to go around acting like little dictators whenever they see content they don't like. All you need to do is block Karma and all your problems will be solved. After I made Cocoapowder Plus, it came to my attention that the mods were under the impression that I would attack their subreddit. Now I had no intention of doing anything of the such, and they were being paranoid. Now I will admit I did not handle what came next as well as I should have. I should have messaged them privately to try to calm them down and assure them I genuinely meant no harm. Instead, I posted a public "I come in peace" message to their secondary subreddit. I was promptly banned there too and my message was deleted, which is fair enough. Sorry for that. Ever since, I stuck to Cocoapowder Plus, and they stuck to the original. I had no intention of opening old wounds, and I just wanted to move on from all of this. I found the "I come in peace" message using a Reddit archive tool and will review it here to have a full picture of the situation. Karma Spider says, "For those who don't know, I just created a new subreddit called r/Cocoapowder Plus. It offers the same services as r/Cocoapowder and r/Cocoapowder with an extra R, but fewer restrictions on what can be posted. The reason I'm talking about it here is because I heard from the grapevine that the mods here and on Discord have heard about and are not happy. They believe that I am plotting some war or scheming revenge or some bullshit. I am here to say that it is not my intention. r/Cocoapowder Plus is merely an alternative space where people can post and talk about Cocoapowder. That's it. I am not petty enough to purposely escalate this drama, which honestly never should have even happened. I will stay in my subreddit and mind my own business. It's your choice if you want to do the same. Peace." I don't agree with posting this because you are bringing personal drama into a community that is not really a part of it. Yes, you should have messaged privately. The comments under this post reflect my sentiment. No Amount says, "Why is this even posted here? Couldn't you reach out through DM and talk stuff? This feels so unnecessary and immature. You are making the community look already problematic. This isn't a fight between who gets to manage what's posted or not. Reach out to talk stuff out. This 'I come in peace' seems straight up taken from the old fandom. Don't make those same mistakes." Karma replies with, "I wanted to ensure that they would see it and not ignore it like my other messages to them." Nora Mount replies with, "This feels unnecessary and rude. You're making sides between the community that you come in peace to." Continuing on in Karma's response, the document also includes 2 things that I find irrelevant but I have to address. First of all, what I read on AO3 is none of their concern and it does not reflect me as a person. I ignored the DM sent to me because I was sick of them stepping on me, and I have no reason to private my AO3 account, which has multiple fanfics on it, because you won't know where I leave a kudos unless you actually look at the kudos list for that fic. I have no intention of leading minors to places where they shouldn't be, but also not my responsibility to babysit them. As for the Ruby Rose subreddit, it was not marked as an NSFW subreddit when I joined it. Again, Karma Spider is spitting facts here. You won't see any NSFW or inappropriate works on AO3 unless the user puts it in their public bookmarks, which Karma has never done, or they are actively looking for it. It begs the question, why was a minor reading a Cocoapowder pornfic and felt the need to report it to the r/Cocoapowder mods? Whoever that is, learn how to use the tagging system on AO3 and mind your own business. Stop putting yourself in places that are not for you. Karma ends his response with, I am tired of this. I am tired of fighting this uphill battle. I just wanted to make memes and dialogue and not have to defend myself for it when people are posting way more suggestive things in the Deltarune subreddits. I don't want a war or to spread pornography or whatever else you think I'm doing. I'm just trying to share something that I made with this community. Mods of r/Cocoapowder, if you are reading this, leave me alone. Please. This is absolutely fair. Karma Spider got unreasonably shat on by the mods for posting aged-up content of a fictional ship. The Google document implies that this guy is a pedo and a threat to minors. There is no other way to interpret that. In the comments, one of the mods, Lolly the Real Bomb, responded. He says, cool response. I disagree with a lot of these points though, with all due respect, and I say this as a normal member of the Cocoapowder and Undertale community. 1. Aging up otherwise underage characters to write and create suggestive content is simply weird, dude. However, that isn't the bad part which the document addresses. The document more so talks about the fact that such content was shared in a space that is mostly made up of minors. Prepare to see that word be used a lot. Who gives a shit? They are fictional characters, you can do whatever you want with them. As long as he is not depicting the characters as children in a sexual scenario, nobody should care. The properties of fictional characters can be changed. You can make them a baby, you can make them a geriatric person. Hell, you can even race swap them and make them fat. That's the thing with fictional characters, they are not real, so stop treating them as if they are actual minors. 2. You have to keep in mind that the majority of your community is filled with minors. I repeat, minors. They shouldn't be exposed to the content that you produce. Consume what you want, no one cares. However, if this content is being exposed to minors, you can't not expect backlash. Frankly, again, it's very weird. You keep bitching about minors being harmed when what Karma made was mildly suggestive. You know, I would put that energy into making sure no one's getting groomed in your community, rather than going after a guy who made suggestive memes of aged-up characters. Focus on something that actually endangers minors over a nothing burger. 3. Your AO3 activity is not irrelevant in this case. Again, consume whatever you want to, that's fine, it's no one's business, unless it's illegal of course. However, the moment other people, especially minors, are able to see that you are consuming and sending kudos to adult content, then people have the right to step in and say, hey no, don't do that. You're basically advertising adult content openly. It's problematic when most of the people following you from the Cocoapowder community are minors. It's genuinely not that hard to keep that stuff private, you know? Lolly the Real Bomb is a stupid motherfucker who doesn't know how to use Google to check if AO3 kudos is a public thing. First of all, I don't think minors should be on Archive of Our Own. That website posts a lot of content you deem problematic. However, I must reiterate, AO3 has a tagging system where you can exclude mature content. It's an archive, not an algorithm. Kudos are private and you will only see if someone gave kudos if you are on that specific work. Again, I have to ask, why the fuck was that minor reading a Cocoapowder pornfic? Karma Spider kept it private. It is you, Stormfire, and the other mods who signed off on that shitty Google Doc that made it public. For, I assume, and don't be coy, the comic you released beforehand was a response to the document or a response to people not being okay with this kind of stuff being shared generally. If it is the case, then it's hilarious that you took something as severe as this so lightly initially. I can respect the fact that you wrote the response, but the comic just wasn't a good idea. It's as good as responding to severe allegations with a meme or a joke. The comic that Lolly is referring to is this one called Cocoapowder Does Something Illegal. I'm not gonna read it out anymore, this video is too long as it is, but you could pause to read it. I don't have a problem actually with Karma posting that, especially when you people are so fucking insufferable. You are trying to crucify this guy over nothing. He already followed your previous demands before, but that was not enough for you. 5. Yes, there are people in the Deltarune, Undertale Yellow subreddits, and any other subreddits that share suggestive content there when majority of the members are minors, some that are more suggestive than your content. However, that does not mean it's okay for you to share suggestive content in a subreddit full of writers. That's simple whataboutism that you did right there. Do you want to know why Karma is pointing out that what he posted was not as suggestive as what was being posted on those other subreddits? It's because you made a fucking Google Doc implying that he is a pedophile and a danger to children for making that sort of content. I don't see a Google Doc made of those other people who post literal porn of the Undertale and Deltarune characters. It's not whataboutism, it's a genuine question because you smeared him. As an adult, you have the responsibility to make sure that minors within your community aren't exposed to suggestive content. If you fail to do that, then of course people are going to be upset. The evidence in the document is very, very damning for that. Several smoking guns are present in the document, yet none have been effectively addressed nor remedied ever. Ever! Don't be shocked that people have removed you from any projects or that people have a negative image of you now. It's simply the consequences of your actions. Now you have a choice. Be better and make changes, or continue to be a problematic person. That's your choice. I'm a believer that even the worst of people can change if they have the desire to do so. But again, it's all completely up to you. You can remove my comment or even ban me from this subreddit, or you can genuinely acknowledge what has been told to you. What you do now with all of this will determine what type of person you are. Okay, you fucking shithead. Consequences of your own actions? For what? For these tame-ass memes, no minor is getting hurt or corrupted because of these. You claim that smoking guns were not addressed nor remedied ever, yet you acknowledge that he took down the posts. Karma even says that he changed the problematic post. The evidence in the document is a whole nothing burger. You act like he's a pedo, when this isn't even a lolicon situation. The characters are explicitly said to be adults and they are depicted as such. Not to mention that you act so smug while relishing in the fact that he got dropped from his projects, and his reputation took a hit. It's so rich, coming from a guy who has the name Lolly the Real Bomb. It's actually Lol-I the Real Bomb? Oh, fuck off. You do not deserve the benefit of the doubt when you unnecessarily target someone minding their own business. You know, with the release of this hour-long video, I don't want you, Stormfire, or any of the other mods complaining about how I've documented your vindictive and immature attitude and that people are now shitting on you. It's simply the consequences of your actions, Senor Lolly. Before I end this video, I want to point out some inconsistencies and other shenanigans that the r/Cocoapowder mods engage in. They make a 17-page Google Doc over a former mod's mildly suggestive memes, but let's see what's on their subreddit. They gave Karma shit for having meme posts where Clover shows attraction to Chara, but here's a meme post about how Chara is pretty hot, with a spoiler to make it seem NSFW, to which the mod responds that the person will get off with just a warning. They gave Karma shit for a meme implying sex, but I guess having a drawing of a drunk minor calling the other sexy is okay. By the way, I don't think the original posters for these are bad people. I'm only pointing out that they engaged in similar behavior but their posts are allowed. Looking at the moderator standards, how come these people don't get banned? Something else I want to point out is how Stormfire has this tendency to jump into spaces not meant for them to police people. They went into an Undertale Yellow pro-ship subreddit to argue. Mind you, this community is made of less than 40 people. You have to go out of your way to find a community like this. It is already segregated from the normal Undertale Yellow subreddits. It is not the responsibility to babysit children. This is how they are. They go into places they know that is not for them, in order to act like a little dictator, demanding people conform to their beliefs under the excuse that it is for the children's sake. It's one thing to moderate your own community, it's another thing entirely to go into different communities and demand various individuals to change what content they consume and create, all because you are uncomfortable with it. When it comes to shipping fictional characters, I believe that people have the right to create whatever content they choose. I think aging up characters is fine, so long as they are not depicted as adults. What I mean by this is that their age is 18 plus and they look 18 plus. So no, I do not support lolicons and I think those lolicons are pedos. This situation was supposed to stay private between the mods of r/Cocoapowder and Karma Spider. However, they chose to escalate it into a public situation all because they are vindictive people who wanted to run a smear campaign against another member of the Cocoapowder community under the guise of protecting minors. You guys are not protecting minors at all. In fact, you are actually harming them. We can see in the subreddit that the community simply wants to focus on Cocoapowder. They do not care about your interpersonal drama. They do not want to witch hunt a guy who's been banned on 2 Cocoapowder's subreddits and the official one's Discord. I mean, some people have created a 4th subreddit just to get away from the drama. If that is not a wake-up call, I don't know what is. To Karma Spider, I'm sorry you got this shitty Google Doc hit piece. I would suggest blocking the r/Cocoapowder moderators and continuing your own thing. To the moderators of r/Cocoapowder, especially Stormfire the OG, Lolly the Real Bomb, and Lawful Louie, you people are some of the most insufferable figures that I have covered in my content. It is clear to me by your responses to the people criticizing you that you only backed down in this situation because you got backlash. If the Discord and Reddit were praising you, you would be running victory laps and patting yourselves on the back for protecting your community. You are not fit to be moderators. That position should go to other adults within the Cocoapowder community who's focused on the ship and not being the paint-huffing morality police. Even if the situation resolved itself and these moderators took down all the related posts, I made this video to criticize and document this behavior because there is no doubt in my mind that these moderators will try to do this again if left unchecked. I want this to be a lesson to the audience. If a person is creating content that you are uncomfortable with and do not like, just block them. The internet is a vast place and there will inevitably be content that you do not agree with. Save the Google document for people who actually deserve it. Save it for the abusers, rapists, pedos, groomers, scammers, and others whose actions warranted being exposed to the public. When you make pointless exposés like this, you ruin your credibility because the next time you try to spread awareness, people will view you as a liar. Imagine if there is an actual predator within your community. Since you fucked up with a bad Google document before, people will not take you seriously. They may assume that you're exaggerating and lying again. You guys don't want that to happen, right? So for the love of God, do not run a smear campaign against someone all because you don't like them. That's all. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more Google Docky reviews.